and they often sound like when someone calls the wrong number. Are you sure you have the right person? I don't think I'm the one you're looking for. And it might surprise some people that being called into ministry isn't something I've always wanted. I mean, my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents have been preachers and pastors, so shouldn't I want that? Shouldn't I see myself doing that? But for me, it was the opposite. Because in my family of pastors, that also includes my mom as one. Which means I have seen people try to silence the call on my mom's life simply because she's a woman. I've seen how heartbreaking it can be to be unrepresented, misrepresented, the only one in the room. And years ago, my mom shared that God had called her to plant a church. But my mind ran with questions. How? I find myself asking this a lot. Because also, the Bible is full of story after story of God moving through people in amazing ways. And in Hebrews 11, we get this highlight reel of these Bible all-stars. It talks about everyone from Noah to Abraham, Sarah, Joseph, Moses. But as someone who wrestles with what it means to be used by God, I ask myself, how? How did God move through them? But in Hebrews 11, there is one phrase that is mentioned 21 times. By faith. And the beginning of Hebrews 11 tells us that faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. You see, living by faith is like listening to music. We don't see music, but we hear it. And you know when you hear that one song and you can't help but dance? In the same way, we don't see God's voice, but we hear it. And so in living by faith, when we hear God's calling, we can't help but move. We can't help but act. Because faith is active. Faith is not just what you believe or think. It's not optimism or wishful thinking. And one example of this from Hebrews 11 is Moses. When God called him from that burning bush, Moses put his feet to that. He went back into Egypt before Pharaoh. And when Pharaoh said no, by faith, Moses went back. Because my God said. And so while you may say no, the voice that's commanding me says yes. Moses' faith wasn't fixated on the circumstances. It was fixated on God and what God had said. And all of this is summed up in the beginning of Hebrews 12, which says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. And when I look at my cloud of witnesses, it also includes my mom as one. And despite others trying to diminish her calling, she stayed faithful to the one who called her and to put his voice above all others. And because my mom actively lives out her faith, she has started a church, which she is the lead pastor of. And people are coming and finding God's love and restoration. I look to my mother. I look to these biblical heroes. But most importantly, I look to God, who says that I am qualified. That even when the world says no, the voice that's commanding me says yes. So above all the other voices whispering in your ear, what's the voice of God calling you to? Because by faith, we can all be a vessel for God to move through. And it doesn't have to be full-time ministry. At the end of the day, we're all called to be a light, to love, to be better versions of ourselves so that we can be better witnesses of Him wherever we go. There is a call. So let us fix our eyes on God. Let us run this race. to move by faith. Thank you.